Good morning, everybody. It's IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I am Texas Homer. That is Ian Boyd. We're going to talk offensive line, the new addition. And then does Texas have a new SEC nemesis? Are they going to replace Georgia or just be added to the list? I want to see you over on Inside Texas. You can join for just $1 right now for new members only. We would love to see you over there. We're getting some new members. We see you over there, and we enjoy your contributions. So come join, $1. It is the first link in the description. All right. Grade the potential offensive line for 2026. Are we thinking around a B or so?
We're going. That's it. Just out the gate.
Out the gate.
I don't know. I think a B would be good enough. They probably have the pieces to do that. They might be better than that. There's a lot of things that'll hinge on, like Connor Robertson has to be back and healthy the whole year.
Some tricky aspects. Guzzi's going to be out at left tackle for the spring. Lawrence Seymour. Well, it matters for Brandon Baker.
Yeah.
So if Brandon Baker's playing left tackle all spring and doesn't get guard reps, that can hurt the synchronicity, the cohesion. Siani is new too, so we'll have to see about cohesion there, even though I like Siani. And then Seymour doesn't come in until after the summer. So he's finishing his degree and then coming. So Seymour will not be part of Texas for the spring. So you really are just going to have in their true position center. Siani will be there, but it'll be new. But so like returning piece that'll be there in the spring at their position is Robertson.
You can still see how things could go wrong.
Yeah.
But the component parts are significantly upgraded from last year.
Well, especially just like the pressure numbers. The pressures have gone way down across the board on what we added. So I think our pass protection will be better. And then we'll talk about through the episode what run scheme we think they're suited for and what they'll be able to do. So
does that matter?
Well, I just think who they're taking should in a reasonable sense tell you what their schemes are going to run, but that's not always the case with us, right?
We'll get to that. I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah. Worried about depth. What do you think about
center? They need Jackson Christian to
step up
and play well. Connor Robertson, our introduction to Connor Robertson was he was the third string center and he got thrown in the middle of the Oklahoma game. Mm-hmm. And did not go very well. Although I'd say his career at Texas has been pretty laudable. Guard, certainly. Depth issues there. I think worrying about depth at tackle would be kind of silly.
Well, the depth at tackle immediately becomes Baker. So
plus whatever you get from Kojo or freshman Turntine or Chapman. I mean, if you have three tackles that you think can be winning championship players, then
you're in a pretty good spot.
You're in a great spot.
But then if Baker ends up going to swing tackle, then you have to lean more on your guard depth there. So, yeah, we'll see. Do you want to start with what you thought of Seymour?
Sure.
All right. So I watched Toledo and Southern Miss, and you watched LSU and Southern Miss?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What were your thoughts first? LSU didn't have the All-22, so I did not see them.
He reminds me of DJ Campbell. He's low to the ground, powerful. He's like, in some respects, he plays a bit like a tackle. He's just short. He reminds me a lot of Talik Lockett also, who we looked at and ended up, I don't know where he ended up going.
I think Maryland.
Maryland? That's weird. Would have been nice to take Talik Lockett and
I would have liked both. Correct.
This guy. That seems like that would have been a win to me, but whatever. I I would have taken 3 guys like that over Siani, maybe. And maybe that'll look really stupid in a minute, but he's low to the ground. He's powerful. He doesn't give ground easily. He knows what he's doing in pass protection. He's pretty much exactly what we were saying for the entire season that they needed to go get. Was somebody that has been playing college football for a long time, has lots of experience doing it, and can give you like really solid play because they're just like a total vet.
Yeah, I think he only had 8 pressures on the season. Maybe one of those were a sack. So my evaluation looking at him is works well with others. He was really good at games on the
Are you a
defense.
kindergarten teacher?
Yeah, well, that's the best way to say it because I'm talking about the run and the pass. So he can handle games really well. He's really good at picking guys up. I didn't see him mess that up once. His eyes were always in the right spot. And then if no one fires at him, like it's a 3-down front, he's really good about working to the center, making sure the center's safe, and then he'll run out and smack whoever's on the tackle. So he does a really good job there. That was a huge issue for us at left guard, and I didn't see that a problem at all with him. And then also doubles. He works well with the center, and he doesn't go off chasing the linebacker. He stays on his double until the linebacker moves close enough. He's a patient player. And he has deliberate feet. They're not choppy or trying to do that. His steps are deliberate. He has good leverage, like Ian said, aided likely by the lower height, but substantial weight. So he's stocky and he's able to hold down his spot.
He has the right build for offensive line.
Yeah. He refits hands well. So like the first initial contact, I think the stat is whoever gets hands on first wins like 80% of the time. And so he's good with his hands, but whenever he does misfire, he's able to refit his hands well. He's able to go to his different angles. You want to see that they can correct their hands and refit well. He does that. And then he's a sound pass blocker. Some of it, you saw LSU, so you can tell me better. Some of it, I'm like, well, he's going against guys that are nowhere near as good as him. So I needed to see LSU, but unfortunately I was not able to. So what did you see as pass blocking versus LSU? Because he only gave up 1 pressure on paper.
It was good. I mean, it's not like they were sitting back doing progression passing all day.
Yeah.
But he was good. And
did they run a lot of outside zone? I didn't see them run much outside zone.
No.
It was all kind of forward run game.
I've seen him run it a little bit. I don't think that I think he'd be fine at it. I wouldn't really be worried about it. Although you would feel a lot more confident if he were coming in for spring ball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a top 50 in all of FBS in pass blocking efficiency. His run blocking grade is nowhere near that. So his pass blocking grade is really high.
It's a little bit. I think he's going to be very good in that regard.
Well, a lot of the stuff I saw was doubles, and that's a huge part of being an interior offensive line. But I don't know how often he'll get that with us. So I just wanted to see more kind of one-on-one run blocks. But like I said, works well with others for sure.
He's pretty good, I'd say. And I think that we are going to find that his run blocking was underrated and his pass blocking was overrated.
So I saw when I looked at their
Kentucky's not scheming their offense to trust pass protection, and people just read the PFF thing and they're like, "Oh, he's a brilliant pass protector," and it's like, well,
I thought his pass protecting held up that I watched. The run blocking is what I thought was interesting because he has a pretty low grade there. Not horrible, but not great. But I didn't see any examples in the run game where I was like, what a bad rep. And so that's the part too. I would have to see like what they were looking at. Maybe they were looking at different games than I was looking at, but he looks sound and he's able to do that kind of screening thing we talk about too. Like he was able to do backside cutoffs and that kind of stuff. And he'll just kind of get in front, screen, and then basically anchor in the run game and stop guys. That's a big factor too. So even though his run grade was low, I didn't see anything that stuck out to me as an issue with it. Maybe there's one game out there that I'm just like totally missing.
Sometimes he gets movement and he turns shoulders relatively often, which is like if you watch the NFL, you're just trying to turn a shoulder. Like everybody's too good to be expecting to blow everyone off the ball.
Yeah.
I think he'll be like I said, better than expected as a run blocker because of all the hype is the pass blocking. And I think his pass blocking will look different if he's asked to hold up so that Sark can scheme a double move, which Western Kentucky wasn't really doing. And if they were, it wasn't against SEC defensive linemen.
Yeah, they're really scheme heavy. It was just like vertical traditional run, and then like if they did run outside zone, it was almost always some RPO or like some fake that I saw too. So they did a lot of work in that scheme, but I liked what I saw. What I saw was just kind of a sound player. And once again, you're grading guards on floor. You are not grading them on ceiling. You are grading them on do they introduce chaos to the offensive line? And I don't think he introduced chaos to that offensive line. So that's ultimately what I'm looking for.
Yeah, this is exactly what we wanted.
So I was excited about that one. All right. Let's see. I'm just happy we got a guard at this point for absolutely. It helps clear things up a lot more. That's for sure. Like when you're projecting.
Yeah,
they have 6 guys in the room now that have at least started a few games, need to build chemistry, but I feel good from an experience standpoint. What do you think?
No more of that trust the twins stuff.
Yeah. So what do you think about that aspect, just maturity in the room, even though they're not going to really rep with each other until fall?
They'll probably be okay. Nowadays, they get work in the summer that's supervised. So that's a little different than it used to be. I used to think like, oh, if they're not there in the spring, then forget about it. But now I've seen it happen with transfers and really talented freshmen a few times where nowadays you can get them in the summer and it can work.
Yeah.
Like Banks.
It's not a high penalty. Well, Banks is a little different. It's like he could have showed up probably 3 days and been starting left tackle for us, but and he's a low penalty player. So that's important too. I didn't see a lot of holds because he has good hands. That's why you want good hands, the ability to refit. If you don't have the ability to refit and your hands are wrong, guess what happens? They pull away from you and you get a hold. That's why you need good hands and technique. And so he was a lower penalty player as well. So all these things are upgrades at the left guard position or right guard position. I think he'll probably end up at right guard, don't you think?
Yeah. So at one point when it was like, hey, could Bray Lynch potentially jump in the transfer portal? Connor convinced me to watch him with an eye towards how, and now I'm getting better at watching all linemen like this. Connor was able to get me to watch him with more of an eye towards how often do they bend at the waist and kind of lunge forward and reach for guys versus how often do they keep their feet under them. And Lynch, who did not enter the transfer portal and did not come to Texas, obviously, was bending at the waist over and over and over again. And this guy doesn't do that.
Yeah, he sits in his
misses people, but he doesn't lunge. If he misses, he misses.
And that's what I like about it. If you're gonna miss with your hands, that's fine. Like you'll fire, you'll miss. You just bring your hands back. But you have to stay good posture. You have to stay in the chair. That's the only way you can stay athletic against guys who are more athletic than you. And if you're constantly bending and pushing out, you're going to get demolished. And that's why you would see last year when we do film studies, like our interior offensive line would be at a 90-degree angle, their legs on the ground, and then their shoulders over them. And there's just no shot. You can't recover from it, anything. The only way to stay alive in the rep is to stay seated in the chair. And so I just thought he was sound, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. I don't care about a name there. I care about experience and that he doesn't introduce any chaos to the offensive line. That's all I care about. Any other?
So right guard versus left guard. The starting left guards at Texas have been first it was Denzel Okafor, and he got hurt pretty fast. And then they shifted guys around to a few different spots, but at one point they put Kerstetter at left guard for the Oklahoma game, I think, just to stabilize it and to help the left tackle, which was Christian Jones. Then it was Hayden Connor for a while. And then they tried, if you look at last year's approach. They started with Stroh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, okay, fine, this is not going to work. And then they tried Nick Brooks, who's also a tackle.
He gave up legendary amounts of pressures.
I think Stroh might have been worse in some ways.
No, per capita, like when they were in, Brooks was giving up insane amount of pressure for like low reps. He would just have a cool rep where you're like, wow, he moves good and he hits guys hard, but he was a liability too.
And then didn't they try something else too before they finally just gave in and played Hudson, and I think they went back to Stroh for a minute, and then finally they're like, fine, we'll play the athletically limited Hudson and Robertson combination, and then lo and behold, it was better because they didn't have as much chaos. But all those to me suggest that they want their left guard to be almost a third tackle.
Mm-hmm. They have to be, right? Like, because in most defensive coordinators are going to force one-on-ones on the left tackle. And the only way to guarantee that one-on-one is to put a 3-tech. So you have a 3-tech and a 5. Now the left guard and the left tackle are on an island, and they have to one-on-one their guy. So that's why you want left guard to be more pass focused, because defenses purposely force that one-on-one with their weak side edge rusher. And then right guard, you can be more run focused.
They also, I noticed, they slide to the right a lot, and so they don't distribute their pass protectors. They're like, left side, we're going to put all of our best pass protectors, and then the center can help to the right side, and the running back or tight end can help to the right side. And so all those makes me think that they will play Baker at left guard, and then try to be right hand dominant with the run game, and put their best run blocking true guard at right guard. So I would think that Seymour would play right guard, Baker would play left guard, and it would just be.
And I still feel good about that too, because like I said, I thought he was a really sound pass blocker at right guard, and then Siane's a tackle who should be pass game focused. So, and then Robertson just has to get his floor up. He's not a high ceiling player. His whole goal is just through experience to get the floor up. So just to limit bad reps, and he'll do that with age naturally. And then he'll get a lot of help unless, he gets a 3-tech or something. They do something specifically to target him. He should be fine there. So I think overall that group in pass blocking, I feel really strong about overall.
It would be. I think that the upgrade in pass blocking this season is going to be pretty significant, because it's like our favorite, me and you are thinking it's going to go Gooseby, Baker, Robertson, Seymour, Butts, no, Siani, and then I've had Simpsons on the brain this morning, and then your other guys that are most likely to contribute are like Chapman, who's a borderline tackle, Kojo, who's a borderline tackle, and then maybe the Coleman twins, I guess.
Maybe
right? Everybody else? Who am I forgetting? Anyone?
Sikorsky.
Oh, Sikorsky. Sikorsky, I would say, is also a very, very promising pass protecting guard. I think Seymour is like what you're hoping Sikorsky is in another year or two. Very, very similar, a little shorter, but very thick base, quick feet. They keep their feet under them. They could even. I wouldn't be shocked if it went Gooseby, Seymour, Robertson, Sikorsky, Siani.
Okay.
Like, especially if Baker is like, just does not translate to guard.
Especially without reps.
Without the practice, yeah.
Yeah, I hope Baker is repping guard in the spring. I mean, he will, but not at the level. He's not going to full-time it. He's going to be likely the left tackle for Gooseby, with Gooseby being out. So hopefully we can find a left tackle that's not Baker, that is functional to where practice doesn't get destroyed, right? And so if you can do that and then just rep Baker at guard, I think that's the smartest move, but we'll have to see. Right now, Justin thinks it'll be Baker at left tackle during the spring.
The next thing, Connor, is that there's no like tip of the spear in the run game with any of these guys. Like, who are you running behind?
Who are you running behind, right?
Kiffin, who's amazing at building offensive lines every year with different unimpressive component parts. He'll like this last year, Paul was extolling how they had one really good pass protector on the Ole Miss line, and they had one really good run blocker, and they would just always scheme to play to those strengths, right? And last year's Texas's line, anytime they really got push or movement in the run game, you'd usually find DJ Campbell involved prominently, and the ball would find his area. And I don't know what that would be for this unit, but it could also be Masunis and Townsend.
The thing is, if you're going outside zone, to me, it's just opposite of who has the quickest feet, because the backside of outside zone are going to be cutoff guys. So to me, the quickest feet side is going to be if it's Baker at left guard and Trevor. So naturally, you're going to go to the right because those guys can reach or whatever they need to do, cut off the backside, create the separation of the defense that outside zone's designed for, give you a cutback. So I think just it's actually not ideally you would have a great run blocker up front, but really to me it's just opposite of who has the quickest feet, and the left side of the line will have the quickest feet.
Let me throw another alternative at you. Duo and just run behind and do a wrap, and you're running behind the tight ends in a wrapping receiver. Pin and pull. Down blocked by Masunis, pull whoever around the corner, and then they get to pick on smaller guys. GT counter opposite the tight end. Tight end steps down, holds the backside. There's a lot of things they could do. This is why they're not going to do the Shanahan, we're going to run wide zone.
Sure, yeah.
They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But they don't. It may not be the best thing for them to do anyways, because Masunis gives them a lot of flexibility to do different run schemes and ask him to be the hinge block.
Well, the funniest part is it doesn't even come to mind how the tight end plays in run blocking because I'm so used to not having one. So having Masunis I do need to reframe how I think about the offensive line now that you actually have a blocking tight end, because it turns out you can do a lot of cool things with the blocking tight end.
Also Townsend.
Yep.
I mean, my dream would be that they major in wide zone, and then they copy Shanahan's stuff where he has use check floating all around the backfield and just running a gazillion different leverages for outside zone. That would be amazing. I was watching some videos on that the other day, but then I was like, they're not going to do this.
Yeah, you think they're going to be a perimeter attack though? I mean, I think they're going. I know you said duo, and everyone runs everything unless you're total Shanahan. But do you think there's a dominant scheme?
No, I think they're just going to do everything.
Yeah. And you have some of that. I thought Seymour was really good at the vertical run game. So I think if you're running duo or any type of vertical run game, I think you can run behind Seymour in pairing on a double.
I was telling LC when we did that that Learn Football series last summer that duo is a great run scheme for any offensive line, because you just get to double team, and then
that's the point, is you're trying to create 700-pound blocks, right?
Yeah. That'll work for anybody. You don't need to be massive like Miami. You can be small. You can be big. It doesn't really matter as long as you get your technique right.
I was going to say it's as long
as
yeah, you got to be coached up to do it, because this is a different thing. Outside zone, you can literally run. The offensive linemen are trained to run. But anything vertical, now you're doing, the semi-duck walk, and your steps have to be super deliberate. First, second, third step have to be this. So you need to be coached up to be good at it. Keep your shoulders square, not turning. If you remember our interior offensive line, they're constantly turning their shoulders. And what's weird is if you watch one of the Flood clinics, he's constantly preaching, do not turn your shoulders. We are unathletic when we turn our shoulders, but regardless, our guys were turning our shoulders and then having to try to work back to linebackers. And so, yeah, it's going to take harder coaching to be a good interior run team. But it's real nice when it works out.
You're not going to do that. They'll be good at it insofar as they're able to get teams out of the box.
What about the running backs in tandem? Smothers can run inside. It doesn't feel like it.
I think
they
both kind of can.
Yeah. And, Smothers has the most natural vision. Like Smothers is really good with like three guys around him, like computing he's been really strong at that. I was impressed. We think fast and outside. And he actually breaks tackles at a pretty high rate because he's moving so quickly. Whenever he smacks onto somebody to tackle, he'll still fall forward for a couple yards. So I don't think they're purely an outside.
Where's he from again? Oh, North Carolina State.
NC State, yeah.
I think both of them are, and again, to me, they're not natural outside zone running backs. Like the speed guys like that can make late decisions and bounce outside. That's not really the outside zone game. I feel like people always confuse. They're like outside zone is about running outside, and inside zone is about running inside.
Right.
And it's almost flipped. Like you want your big power back in outside zone, and you want your speedy bounce runner in power.
Well, the dirty secret is that like outside zone cuts back like 60% of the time, maybe even more. So really you end up technically running inside on outside zone.
Yeah,
you're running because your reads are going back, and then most of the time you'll take that middle read, which is actually an inside read, and then outside or inside zone, same thing. Like the devastating part is whenever they're able to press the line and then bounce out.
Bounce out. Exactly. I used to call it the Ingram cut when Texas would run. They'd run inside zone, and Ingram would press up the backside A, and then if the linebackers caved in, he would bounce back out front side with the jump cut.
Yeah.
And he was really good at that. It was obviously what Drayton and Herman were wanting, and when they hit that, it was really effective. Ricky Williams was always like killing people on counter, and he would like threaten he would bounce a lot of stuff. Actually, he was bigger, so this isn't helping my example that much, but he would use the bounce.
On wide zone or like any outside zone too, it's all about the front side interior lineman. Like if he gets penetration, if he's dominant, you're going to cut back all the time. It's really just about one guy like determines that scheme most of the time. So as long as you have a run blocker that cannot let that guy penetrate and force the cutback, which they're coached in that situation to force the cutback. But yeah, it's most of the time you're not actually getting outside on outside zone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, very rarely. You just want to present that threat so that you can hit it's the jab. The wide flanking motion is the jab, but you're really setting up the cutback.
Yeah.
The most famous outside zone running backs of history were mostly dudes that ran like 4.6, 4.7 at the combine and were like 220, 230 pounds, but had quick feet and made good reads and then would cut back against the grain with force. Like Terrell Davis, Arian Foster, Clinton Portis. Yep. Those big guys were often the real killers on outside zone in the NFL.
Bijan used to, because, it's a stretch and puncture, right? You'll hear Flood say this is a stretch and puncture play. Bijan was the most beautiful at it. He'd be running on his track and then just turn on one foot and fire through the line. He was the most fun to watch. It was just like one step stretch and puncture.
Bijan is different.
Yeah, it turns out he's a pretty good running back, but just like the beauty, there's very like moments where you're like, that was beautiful. Like what Bijan would do there was like a form of art.
Who did the Eagles have when they were majoring in this a few years back?
I don't know. I'm not a huge.
Or Barkley. Now they have Barkley. They do other stuff. But Derrick Henry was good on outside zone too. He can do a few different things as well. But yeah, these guys that Texas has.
You can do a few things.
He can do a few things.
Yeah, he's all right.
These guys that they have now are like they are maybe better in the gap scheme stuff where they can use the bounce. You watch a lot of Raleek Brown's plays. some of the most impressive stuff is when he's like bouncing on inside zone, which is hard to do. You have to see it, and then you have to be able to get wide, and that's you need some real agility to get out there and exploit those advantages when they come up. But I do worry just a little bit that a lot of what Raleigh Brown did in that was from the pistol, which creates better angles for the running back than the gun does.
Yeah, I was watching a wide zone guy on YouTube talking about how to like adapt it to the gun. He said like how the first rules are like the first 3 steps you must be on track with the center is like traditional zone teaching. And he was saying it's changed a little bit in the modern game. That you don't need it as much. He's still preferable to me in the pistol, but he says teams are figuring it out more from sidecar gun.
This from the gun is when you want to be on track with the center, right?
Well, he wants both. You want to move. The center wants to move like the first 3 steps. If you watch like Alex Gibbs, right? If you watch his old clinic where he's writing on, what were they called? We had him early in school. I know you had him for sure. Projector, where he's like they're doing writing on all of that. But there's like modern, high school coaches that have like full channels on running like wide zone offenses. And they were talking about that the pistol doesn't have to be, even though traditionally that was the whole plan of it. People are still talking about your LSU take, Ian. Several times I hear brought up. We will talk about the SEC's new Nemesis for sure. But first, let's hear a very, very quick word from our friends at Academy.
Fast one.
Same-day delivery powered by DoorDash.
Any final thoughts, Ian, on the overheads? That's what they were. He'd drawn like 50 fronts up. It was just,
people thought. I mean, I remember when it was like cutting edge that you had when you had the overhead, the dock cam.
Yeah.
And so you didn't need the transparent paper and the pens. Yeah. Just like put paper on it, and it would. And then that computers.
Yeah, a kid now would be like, what are you talking about? But I know I'm getting a good clinic whenever the projector gets broken. And the audio is like, you have to turn it up and then turn it down at the same time somehow because the audio is so horrific. But I was watching a Gibbs outside zone clinic probably like 3 nights ago before I go to bed. That's where I get my clinics in. I drift off to sleep to obscure clinics. All right. Any final thoughts on offensive line, Ian? Anything you thought we missed?
I don't think so. I will push back. Everybody thinks that outside zone is going to be the name of the game, and I would maybe go the other way.
I think I feel outside zone for 2 reasons. Just the foot speed and the tackle emphasis, and we can argue that, but I don't feel strongly. And then my only second one is just been watching outside zone clinics, and part of that is Flood's going to come up. And I was like, how many outside zone clinics does Kyle Flood have? It's like 90% of his output. And he talks about like, this is my favorite play. This is what I would run the offense off of. This is all that. So that's my only thought is tackle, foot speed types. And Flood loves that play, but we said he loved that play before he did the clinics before, and we've seen a bunch of different stuff. And they wanted to do gap schemes last year, and then they just couldn't do it enough. So,
well, they were pretty good at it. They just didn't want to.
But they didn't build off of it, right? Like you were saying that you would hear about really cool wrinkles to like level and layer that, and that you didn't see them.
I don't know what that was about, man. I think they were like just trying to keep their heads above water.
Yeah. It's not just do you run it, it's like what are you running off of it? Do you have a repertoire of RPOs or whatever?
I will say that if the biggest concern with this unit is how much time can they get together before the season to build cohesion, then outside zone is not the name of the game. Because executing those trades on outside zone is like the whole shebang. So if you can't get that right because you don't have enough time together, then that's not going to be the best way forward.
Here's what helps me sleep at night. We were really bad on offensive line last year, and still 3 or 4 times a game, a touchdown was presented. And our running backs would just get 8 yards because they were slow as hell. So that's what gives me solace is like even with a like bad offensive line, it was there. So even if they're not great, you at least have the back to get the explosive when it does show up. Being that these guys can read it quickly enough, I think they can.
The offensive line got a bad rep at times last year because they opened like 5 doors a game that nobody went through.
Yeah. It was the thing too is there was a mixed failure definitely between the running backs and the offensive line. The running backs could have made the offensive line look a lot better, and the offensive line could have made the running backs look a lot better at times. So, but you fix the running back key of it, and then hopefully even if you get to average with the offensive line, just plumb SEC average, you'll feel a lot better. A little bit of work can go a long way with how bad we were. All right. You want to get the fans fired up, Ian?
Sure.
Ian released a pro LSU propaganda piece, clearly paid by big LSU, kept media type of thing. And his argument was that is LSU going to be the new SEC Nemesis? Of course, there was a revolt in the comments because he said something positive about another team, and that's never, ever allowed in fandom. But Ian, why would you write such a antagonistic piece, man?
You think I should have been paid for that by LSU?
Yeah, according to the fans.
Man, I missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, you did. You need to check in. You see if hey man, like just throw me 20 or something.
Yeah.
You just listed facts about like player acquisition as it done, but it doesn't matter. It felt too friendly, apparently.
I think Kiffin is one of the better, I was going to say offensive minds in college football. I think he's generally one of the best minds in college football because the way that he has pivoted to emphasizing the portal is clearly very effective.
With our guy.
Yeah, I knew this would come up eventually. When did Billy Glasscock leave Texas?
Didn't he leave right before Sark?
Did he?
Didn't he?
I don't know.
That's what it's 2 guys asking each other. No. Chat, didn't he leave? Wasn't he out when Sark came in?
I'm looking at
2023. So what year? That's the first playoff run?
Yeah. I thought he was at Texas.
Maybe he could have been.
He came to Texas with Sark, 21, 22, and 23.
He came with him. I thought he was here. He predated him for some reason.
No, that was like Chang and Carrington, and those were Herman's guys. Maybe somebody else that I'm giving a short thrift by forgetting their name.
So he immediately gets picked up by Kiffin, right?
Yep.
And then they go on a really impressive.
He poached, I would say.
Right. Well, I'm using the official terms. But he immediately goes to Ole Miss, and they do really, really well in their portal evaluations, how aggressive they are in the portal, team building through the portal as the primary choice.
So he was there. If you scroll down, I have their seasons listed with their input, output in the portal. Yeah. So he was there at Ole Miss in 24 and 25, and then went with him to LSU. So they had already in 23 started to go heavier portal. And then he was there for the next 2 years. Ever since Kiffin started going heavy portal, they've really started to break out, in my opinion. I guess that 2021 season was also quite good. But they had that was when they had what's his name? That quarterback.
That's in the old era, dude.
Boy, what was that guy's name? They had a terrific dual threat quarterback.
The one that got hurt in the bowl game?
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on him too? Chat will know.
He ran into buzzsaw in that 2021 Baylor defense that injured him and shut down their Matt Corral. Yeah. They had Jeff Lebby and Kiffin and Matt Corral, and it was pretty dynamite until they played that Baylor team. Put Houston Texan Jalen Peter at Mike linebacker for that game and played dime and shut them down. But
that felt like a watershed moment where, because remember the argument was you should play in the bowl games versus you shouldn't play in the bowl games. And then he got hurt. And then everyone that said you shouldn't play in bowl games was able to utilize that. And then agents would be like, see. So I just remember that as being kind of a definitive moment in should you play bowl games.
Yeah, maybe. I think Jake Butt was like the ultimate, which was much earlier than that. So yeah, Kiffin and Glasscock are all about the transfer portal. And I think what has been really effective for LSU this season is that if you scroll back up, so LSU had 37 guys leave their program and 40 transfer in by the numbers I've seen. And then they also recruited the 11th best high school class, which is kind of crazy to have that high a recruiting class while you're overturning your roster to that degree. I wonder how many of the players at LSU this season will be different than last year, like 70% or something crazy. But that's not unusual for what Lane Kiffin has been doing the last few years. A lot of people have been like, well, how are they going to build a team with so much turnover? And it's like they've been doing it every year for the last few years. And it usually works out pretty well. So
yeah, I think I think you say it in the article, but I think the argument of like the mercenaries are going to destroy your team culture, I think that's proven to not be true.
What destroys your team culture is when you overpay for blue chips that bust. If you're promoting guys that were good at another school and now they're getting more money to be better and have a bigger stage, those guys usually
and finding out the freshman who sucks in practice is making twice as much as me.
Yeah, good players lead to good teams, and bad entitled players lead to bad entitled teams. And if you're recruiting entitled players, you're going to blow up. It does not matter if they're coming from high school or another college. And if they're, that's not the where they came from is not the crucial trait. It's their individual characters.
What about the speed of teaching? Because it really isn't to me about if your team's built on the transfer portal. It's how effective your scheme is getting taught to where that they can maximize it. And generally, you would probably have to go with a simpler scheme, I guess. But that's the biggest trick is getting those guys in and getting them taught.
So something Lane Kiffin does that Tom Herman did do this too, actually, that Sark doesn't, is that Sark likes his big NFL playbook with a gazillion run schemes and, all this other stuff. And Kiffin's Ole Miss teams are always like very inside zone heavy. They'll run a few different run schemes, but it's mostly inside zone. Same for Indiana. And so you're always recruiting your offensive line for inside zone, and then you're repping it till the cows come home. So you can actually build proficiency across your line and all your different stuff because you keep it simple and you keep the vision focused, right? So you watch Ole Miss, and for years and years under Lane Kiffin, they would not have impressive recruiting on the offensive line, but you'd watch them pick up hard yards against Georgia or Alabama or whoever else in key moments because they were just proficient in getting hats on hats and inside zone. And maybe Lane Kiffin would scheme something extra up to help make sure they had an advantage, like dual threat quarterback or RPO or misdirection or motion or whatever, right? So they're good in that regard. Defense, we'll see. But he has Blake Baker now was retained, so no more Pete Golding. and his like sort of treasure hunting kind of scheme.
Well, I thought you were going to give you felt like there was another sentence coming on the end of that one. But yeah, that's the big thing. See, LSU is soft, maybe, but we don't know. Everything's new.
It was Ole Miss soft this year. They did something that Texas didn't. They played toe-to-toe with Georgia twice, and they won once, which is not something I would think a soft team would do. Seems like that's kind of a glass house kind of comment for Texas to make about another team that's actually about a coaching staff that's actually been able to compete with Georgia and not get dominated. Right?
Yeah. That's why I'm not looking forward to adding another Nemesis. I would hope that they would not be another Nemesis. But it will be. That's why it's important to talk about them, because we play them. We have to see how quick they can. The argument, the traditional mindset is like, well, it's year one. They're going to take 3 years to be good. But you're countering that with saying they were basically building a new team every year at Ole Miss anyways. And so it doesn't mean that the curve is now wait till year 3 to see progress. I mean, you're seeing guys that can do it. Now, changing schools. Go ahead.
The other thing that I was going to say a few minutes back before I derailed myself is that a huge advantage they had was that Kiffin and Glasscock were already working together to do another portal overhaul at Ole Miss, because that's just how they do things. So when they went to LSU, it's the exact same plan. They've already scouted for Ole Miss, and then it's like, okay, now we just do it.
Change the logo.
We just change the logo and we add more resources and money to our NIL budget because we're at LSU now. So we're just going to do our like best case scenario of what we're trying to do at Ole Miss. We're just going to do that now at LSU. We've already been in contact with these people. We know that's such an easy transition. You're just moving like a little bit further down the river, you know?
And you get more money.
So easy. They already had scouted, like obviously Glasscock is scouting FCS. They have multiple FCS linemen coming. Trinidad Chambliss was from the FCS level.
You saw that Texas is hiring a college football head scout, right?
That is so telling that they did that like the day after portal was basically wrapped up. Sark was like, go hire a freaking scout. It's like, tell me that you know you guys didn't do this right without telling me, you know?
Yeah. But I'm glad. Like whenever I saw it, I was like, okay, cool. We're not too off base with our commentary there. And then a quick thing I just wanted I have a question to ask you about Alabama, but how it affects Texas. But before we do such a thing, let's hear a word from David McClellan.
Big financial decisions don't have to feel overwhelming. There's someone who can guide you every step of the way. David McClellan is a fiduciary financial advisor with Forum Financial, and he's working closely with his clients as a true financial life coach, guiding every aspect of your financial journey with expertise and care. If his name sounds familiar, that's because David was a swimmer at Texas and a member of several national championship teams. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping people win with their finances. David specializes in financial planning, and he's contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. And right now, David is offering viewers a free intro consultation to assess your financial situation. Do not miss this chance to get personalized guidance from a trusted expert. To schedule your free consult, email David at dmcclellan@forumfinancial.com, or you can call him directly at 312-933-8823. The contact info is in the description.
So I saw a little tweet. I might butcher it, but basically we're just going forward. The Alabama was looking to hire an assistant on the O-line so they could basically have an interior coach and a tackles coach. More like the NFL model.
Who's doing that?
Alabama. Remember, they had a lot of issues in the run game. And so what do you think of that? I think that's the way it's going. I think you end up segmenting some of these positions. Offensive line is very unique, man. It used to be you would be a DB coach, right? And you would coach the corners and the safeties and then the nickels. And then it started to turn on that side of the ball to there's a corners coach, there's a safeties coach. Sometimes there's even a nickels coach. You're coaching 5 guys on the offensive line. They're different. The center's different than the guard's different than the tackle. Do you think it goes that way? Or do you think it's smart to go that way? I personally think that's the way to go.
Probably, because most teams don't have great offensive line coaches. Like they're true, as Paul likes to quote all the time from his bud. The truly great offensive line coaches are pretty rare. So if you making the job easier makes sense, so that a less capable person can do it. Can we bring up that?
Or a more siloed person, right? That understands guards uniquely, understands tackles uniquely. Because our tackle play hasn't ever really been my big thing with Flood.
I guess.
You know? So it's like I think just being siloed can help too.
Pull up that Ryan Nelson comment about Walter Nolan and Princely.
What's the timestamp?
10:22.
10:22. They had Walter Nolan, Princely, Dart, and Trey Harris in 2024. Those were expensive. He still underachieved.
2 responses. First, if what Ole Miss did in 2024 was underachieving, what do you call what Texas did in 2025?
No, I think you call it underachieving.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But then it's like if we're trying to diminish LSU this year,
your arguments have to only hit one way to have a good argument, right?
Yeah. Okay. And then in that season, in 2024, when Ole Miss underachieved, they lost to Kentucky by 3 points, to LSU on the road by 3 points, and on the road at Florida by 7. And they beat Georgia 28-10. And
we're so obsessed with Georgia as Texas fans. You beat Georgia, we're like a legendary team right there.
They definitely underachieved, and they had it was like y'all couldn't have found. They just blew it, Kentucky in particular. But they were still a very good team. And just another glass house kind of comment.
Yeah, we need to make sure it can't reflexively come back and punch us right in the face. But we didn't lose to Kentucky, dude. I'll tell you that. We scrapped with them. They gave us a hell. I mean, we were a little bloody after, but we didn't lose to them. All right.
Yeah.
But it seems that you've keyed in on LSU as being a potential future problem for the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah. Well, I believe in Kiffin, right? People are well aware of that. He is absolutely a rogue. I don't think he's the finest human being alive, but he's very effective at coaching football. There's so much of what he does that I think is.
Well, and you like his offensive scheme, right? You think
yes,
best suited.
When I scheme in flag football, I would say Kiffin is much more of a influence than Sark.
Yeah. And why? But why? Why?
Because there's so much that's based just on simplicity of using space and angles and run past conflict. Sark is good at run past conflict, but Kiffin just he aligns you in ways that make it hard to defend space. He uses veer and shoot. He uses bunch. He uses all sorts of different stuff. And he's always just creating conflict in space that makes things simple. And it allows them to be execution based. You can see the game theory at play in so many of his designs. I saw them one time. They got a touchdown on Georgia by they hit a pass down the field from a spread set. Then they ran down the field, ran up and lined up in a condensed formation to run duo with all wide receivers. And they just lined up and ran duo behind receivers blocking because Georgia was in a smaller personnel set and they didn't let them substitute. They made them run all the way down the field and then line up and figure out, wait, what are they doing? And then just scored a touchdown that way. And they just do stuff like that all the time, where it's we're just going to make the game simple by pressing natural advantages.
Well, in season Georgia this year, I mean, they were just killing them on sit downs. because Georgia was playing way off on them, and they would just throw it on first and second down for 5 yards and just stay. The college game to me is just like what I like and what I think is really effective is just like take what the defense gives. It sounds corny, but it's like it works. If they're playing off, then you need to hit them. And then I think that set up was it did Ole Miss rematch? Was it Georgia? Who were they throwing bombs on?
Yeah, they rematched, and Kirby Smart came out, and they're like, Kirby, what needs to look different in this game? And he's like, we're going to stop those free access throws this time.
Yep. And then they just threw fades on them.
And then they threw fades on him, and their receivers averaged 14 yards a target apiece, and they each went over 100 yards, and they just cooked them.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's Golding's different but it just shows the system is like, if you play off, we're going to be in perpetual 2nd and 5s. And then if you do want to play tight, we're going to throw the fade on you. So it's once again just taking what the defense gives. And we just don't do that a lot at Texas.
He also gives the quarterback a lot more freedom on the field. Whereas Sark is always trying to like robot joystick his quarterback. The superior method is to allow your quarterback to give him autonomy to make the best possible decision live on the field. This is like my biggest criticism of Sark. I do think he's actually given Manning a little more freedom, and maybe viewers he couldn't really trust. I don't know, but Kiffin does that way more consistently, and it's just superior. Your quarterback as a field general is always going to be better than your offensive coordinator trying to command the battle from his tent in the back, you know?
Does this work? So Sark will give the illusion of complexity through formations, motions, whatever, but it's generally working for the quarterback to throw the ball here in this spot. And then oddly, inversely, other quarterbacks will have a more simplified system, but it's actually a more complex process because they have 1, 2, or 3 places to go, depending on leverage, depending on the defense. So even though the offense is more simpler visually, the quarterback has a couple spots to go, so he can always pick on the defense. Our offense is very complex visually with different formations and doing different things, but really the ball is going one place.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's giving the quarterbacks the autonomy. And I think that will prepare you, even though the schemes of Sark are very NFL schemes. I think the skill set of a quarterback understanding what's going on is advantaged by like what Indiana did with Mendoza or something like that, where they are making decisions, but they're making 1 or 2, 3 easy decisions, opposed to we're doing 9 things to run this guy off, but really you're throwing that post. So I agree.
With this specific LSU team, if you scroll down to some of the pieces they've added, they got Jordan Seaton. That's nice. Me and you both thought he was a little overrated, but he's definitely like a good
player. Whenever I was getting asked, hey, we're looking at Siani, what do you think? And I was like, you can approximate Seaton's production for, I don't know the actual number, but half the price. I'm like, Seaton's a good PR hire. The fans will like it. But if you're doing like real roster building, go with a guy that can approximate his production for way cheaper. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. They lost Harold Perkins to the draft. Addition by subtraction. Them being able to actually play nickel defense now and not having to accommodate Perkins is going to make a huge difference. The Hawaii receiver they got, Jackson Harris, I pulled him up and watched him some. He's very good. They added like 8 offensive linemen, many of them scouted from the FCS level. Just totally remade the offense. Sam Levitt at quarterback, obvious fit for Kiffin. And then the defense is got a lot more carryover with Baker and some of the pieces back. But they took the 2 best players from Ole Miss and added them to the LSU defense. And then they added defensive tackles from 2 other schools that are like former blue chips that are like just now aging up into like the years where you'd really expect them to figure it out. So they are, I think they're loaded. They did an amazing job in the portal. They still have a ton of really amazing LSU athletes around besides the portal guys that they added. And Texas plays them, and they play them in Baton Rouge. So Georgia is still kind of the big bad wolf of the SEC, and they will be until they stop winning. But you got to look ahead. LSU is a more pressing issue for Texas and could potentially surpass Georgia with the new staff.
All right, let's go for some comments here.
There's one comment I'd love to get to.
Which one?
Where is it? The one about how people come to clinics to listen to Sark. Sports Talk Jay.
Coaches literally go to play calling clinics to listen to him, not Lane.
Because if you go to a Lane Kiffin play calling clinic, it's going to be like, I create this space and then I let the quarterback make a decision. And coaches don't like that, because then you have to train somebody. I've confronted this problem a million times now, and I appreciate the complexity of the issue. If you can try to teach your kid how to make all the best decisions within a system, or B, have a system where his decision-making burden is as low as possible and you can always be in control of the decision that's being made, which one are you going to choose?
As a coach, you're going to choose the burden, the low burden.
You want the burden on you and not on him.
Right.
But it's wrong.
Yeah, is that good for the long term? Teach a man to fish.
It's going to work really well until it doesn't.
And here's the thing: is like a Sark clinic is great because he's a great communicator, and he's a great individual play draw. Like the plays that he'll draw up are awesome, and you're like, oh, cool. But we got to look at the ultimate result. I mean, when you can't run successfully and at will, when your offense is stalling, when you're constantly in third and long, I don't care how sick the routes are, man. And most of those things are going to be, and a lot of his legendary clinics are, 6 years ago. Like teams know how to stop RPOs now. Teams know how to stop crossers now. So a lot of those clinics, you can go run the famous Alabama clinic. I think it's like a Japanese company re-uploaded it because it kept getting taken down. But go ahead, try to run all those things from that famous clinic and see how effective they are. It's been 6 years. Teams have figured out a lot of this stuff. So I'll never deny that he's a great individual play caller. If I look at his play, I'll say that's awesome. But his plays in context to actually working consistently, not stalling out in second halves, not having quarters where nothing happens, constantly being in third downs, not being able to finish in the red zone. I don't know if that's the model you want to invoke. Now, you can steal, some pass concepts. And you can steal some run concepts. They're cool too. But individual plays versus working within the broader scope of the offense, in my opinion.
Also, have we so quickly forgotten Vince Young and Colt McCoy and what worked at Texas in the past? Also, Mike Leach, his whole thing was teaching his quarterbacks how to make their own decisions and even call their own plays and audible and stuff. And hilariously, he produced, amongst his coaches and his assistants and former players, an enormous tree of guys that are now coaching at the college and NFL level. But the funny thing is that so many of them are more like Sark. So Leach taught them how to make the right decision. And then those guys are parlaying that into jobs for themselves and not teaching someone else to do likewise.
My biggest thing of
Sark.
Well, yeah, and I also talk about where is Sark's tree? Go out, get guys that and he doesn't have a coordinator, so you can't really build a tree. But it's also you want to see generally your offensive ideas proliferate. Ian doesn't care as much about that, but I think it's cool.
It's indicative of. It's indicative.
To me, it's it's an adaptable, hardy scheme. That it's not necessarily just dependent on the athletes you have. I mean, it can evolve, right? It can reproduce, right? It passes on its genes. And so I think that shows more too. But what I really loved about Leach was The
Makes you more
simplicity. I mean,
adaptive.
they would run mesh for like 20 minutes of practice. They would just run this one play every day, like mesh 20 minutes. So they got so good at it. The problem was whenever you have a wide scope of offense, you have a limited time of practice. So you never really get great at anything. And that's why I loved Leach's air raid, because it was like 4 or 5 core concepts and they repped the hell out of it. Like you could not get it wrong. You knew how to do it versus every single look. But when you're running every run scheme, there's no way that you'll get to an elite level at any one of them. You might get to pretty good at all of them, and that's the goal. But the simplicity and how they practiced with Leach is what I really thought was the magic behind his system.
Yeah, and then he taught them how to create adaptiveness and flexibility on their own.
Right. Through reps and through an insane focus on it. So that's what I like. But yeah, I love a good Sark scheme. There's one that drives me nuts though, because his computer didn't work on it. So halfway through, the film freezes and no one says anything in the clinic, and Sark doesn't realize it. So then he's talking about plays that never show on the screen for the whole back half. And it's like, those are like the lost Sark tapes on that clinic. I was like, somebody just needed to be like, hey, the screen is frozen. You've been talking for 30 minutes about something we can't see. That one drives me nuts.
I'm sorry that happened to you, Connor.
It's rough, dude. I'll send it to you because it's like, that like there's some good stuff happening, right? But he's like, and then you'll see the safety does this, and then the corner does that, and you're like, oh no, I can't see what the corner does. Any final thoughts?
Watch out for Kiffin and LSU. To me, that's the scariest game on the schedule. Ohio State obviously could be really good, and they might be better than LSU or whoever else. But they have to come to Austin in like September heat, which they're not going to be used to. No, they did beat Texas in those circumstances before. I was there in 2006, but that's a big advantage.
What do defenses do to limit the RPO? They take away the conflict for the backside read. So what the RPO is built on is that you're running this direction, and then you can read this guy. If he fits into the run or he goes into the pass, then you can figure it out. They just took away his concept. So that backside can be a safety, backside linebacker, whatever, does not have a gap responsibility and a pass responsibility. There is no conflict. If there's no conflict, there's no way to read him in RPO. So you'll just see guys on the backsides of runs sitting in a window, and they don't have a choice, or they've just been given, hey, you're always in the pass because we want to force them to run.
Yeah, you slow play the run, and you scheme it to where your linebackers can wait in the windows for a beat before they have to show up in the run game. And so you might concede a yard or two in the run game, but teams figured out like giving up inside zone for 4 yards instead of 3 yards is a lot better than giving up an open
glance that goes for whatever right up the middle of your defense.
Yep.
So yeah, teams have limited the RPO. The cool ones now are the fade. I like the fade RPOs. Like you're either going to run or you're going to bomb it on them. Like I like that adjustment.
Those are usually probably route adjustments too.
But if you watch any defensive clinic now, they'll all be like, and this is what we do to start the RPO. You'd never hear it in the older clinics. Every clinic now, built into their core scheme, is how do they stop the RPO. And that wasn't necessarily the case when Alabama was killing people on glances.
It's like the option.
Right. Like it's
you start by being option sound. You start by being RPO sound.
So that's how some of these things have diminishing returns from Alabama's success nowadays. Guys, head over to Inside Texas. New members, you can join for just $1. Come hang out with us. We would absolutely love to see you over there. Everyone have a great day. And we have a really cool film study coming out at noon with Jet and Drew and myself. We do like a 40-minute breakdown of Colin Simmons' pass rushing. All of his moves, all of his abilities. If you really want to understand why Colin Simmons is special, be looking out for that. You'll see a ton of clips, and you'll get a really broad appreciation for Colin Simmons' skill set. So be on the lookout. Everyone, this is IT Live, and it was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have a great day.